Excellent. Welcome, everybody. Water Board meeting, April 26, 2021. First item, approval of the March 2021 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I make the motion. Oh,
Thank you, Mary Lou.
I think Rick did first, Remages, because, but I think, oh, okay, I think he was muted.
Rick, you're seconding. Rick Remages.
Thank you. Seconded.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Next item, approval of the March 2021 financials.
I make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Laurel. I'll second. Any discussion? All. Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay. Next item is March and April water report, Greg Parrish.
Okay. Good morning, all.
Morning.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, for last month, all water meters have been read and uploaded in the billing system for last month and this month as well. All went well with that. Also, water samples for last month and this month have been collected. Both samples came back clean. We'll be doing our second quarter stage 2 disinfectants with next month's sampling. We've been doing a lot of locating in general, but we received locates requests from Haas on the Lakeshore Drive project. This is the beginning of the design phase. So we are locating all the lines for replacement or upgrades for water. I will be meeting with Jim and we will walk through and look at each upgrade, and this will produce hard numbers for actual costs. So we'll know a little bit more about where we're going to be at as far as costs. Also, Jim and I have been discussing vacant buildable lots. This would be the time to stub water taps in. I have a tap to be reinstalled for the stop 21 stop. And we also need to know if there are any other stops that they may want water in the future, you know, maybe like stop 24. I don't know what the ongoing project is with that one. But this would be the time for everybody to find out what we want to do with those. We've had quite a few water turn-ons for houses and irrigation systems already for the season, and those will be ongoing for a while yet. I've also been reviewing our policies, particularly the cross-connection policy. I'd like to start having homeowners that have irrigation systems to start having backflows tested annually before starting up the systems. That would require a licensed backflow inspector to test the backflow valve and submit the report to the Long Beach Water Department. And this would not take effect this year, but starting in 2022 season. So we have plenty of time for discussion on this issue. I kind of wanted to maybe try and do it this year, but they're already starting to turn on, and I think we're a little bit too late on that. So also I've been looking at reviewing our tank maintenance schedules. We'll be looking at doing a tank and screen flush probably next year. IDEM likes to see this done every 3 to 5 years. Next year would be about 3.5 years since we had it epoxied. So I may schedule that for next year. That requires take the tank offline for approximately 2 days. Cost of that service is about $2,300. That's this year's price. Now next year it might be a little more, but that's what I got quoted for this year. Also, we've been started flushing in our low flow areas beginning at stop 13 and 20. We did come in early this morning at 4:30 and started that section. We'll be doing the rest of the town next week. We will send out another public notice before that time. I checked our voicemails this morning at Town Hall in the water office, and we did have one complaint, which is pretty normal. It's kind of hard for everybody to, get notified that we're doing this. So I had ordered all the storage fittings for the fire hydrants. They're all in. We will be installing those as we service hydrants in the upcoming weeks. Also have been getting quotes for the Insta valves we need to install on Lakeshore Drive. We'll be adding 2 to maybe 3 valves, 2 6-inch and 1 10-inch. I believe we had, Laurel and I figured $20,000 in this year's budget for this work. So far, it looks like we will be under the budget amount on those 3 valves. I'll be getting information together for our annual CCR report for 2020. I will get with Laurel on that so we can get that out. We are waiting for Michigan City's water report. It's not out yet. So, last but not least, also Austin has this week and a day or two next week of classes, and he will be ready to test. So he's been cramming pretty hard. So hopefully when he tests, he won't have any problems. And that concludes my report. Anybody have any questions on anything?
I do have a question regarding the backflow testing by a certified individual.
Okay.
Would that, I have a irrigation system, so I'm just trying to envision, for me and others that do have those, what would this entail? So typically I have my irrigation contractor open up my system and do head checks. Would typically those folks be certified to check the backflow?
Yes.
Preventer? So the key question I'm asking here is, so in general, they wouldn't need to hire another individual, such as a certified plumber or somebody like that, to come out, as long as, say, they have their irrigation guy out anyways. Right.
Yes, most irrigation companies have somebody certified to do the backflows. I've done research. I've been in classes. We've asked questions. This is something that IDEM requires, an EPA. You would think that they would put that on the backs of irrigation companies to require them to do the backflow preventers, but unfortunately, they put it on the water purveyor to make those decisions. So, but yes, they do. I've talked to 3 of them, which predominantly do. I see them a lot in Long Beach. And all we would have to do would be to send them a letter of our cross-connection policy. And when they come out and service anybody's irrigation, they know that they have to test that backflow preventer and submit the report to Long Beach Water Department. This year's cost anywhere from $100 to $125 to get that done annually. So if you're a homeowner and you don't have somebody start up your own irrigation,
right,
then you just have to call, Down to Earth or Servicegate or one of them, and they'll come out and they'll inspect it for you.
Right.
So
I certainly think it's a good idea, but I just wanted the impact on everybody that might occur. So
yeah, and with the topography of Long Beach, with the hills, homes up on the hills, we are real susceptible to having a reverse flow. If there's a fire or something, the fire department opens up a fire hydrant on Avondale, somebody's watering their grass up on Silvertip, there's probably going to be some reverse flow. So
I agree.
I think it's something that we ought to, implement so that we protect the homeowners probably more than our system, but for both, It protects both of them. So, and there's a lot of irrigations out here too. Most of the homes have them. So,
Okay.
And so without this, just a quick, without this, the risk is that contaminated water could get back into the system?
yes, and into the home as well. It's going to go through the home before we get to our system. And most likely, I don't even think that an irrigation company can install an irrigation without putting a backflow preventer in. It's just that they're not required by law to have those inspected. But we can make that to where they have to be done. Most of the communities around us are already doing this, so it's not new. So what I would do would be early next spring, February, March, early, I would send the companies that predominantly do the work out here the letters and the copy of the cross connection policy, and then they would have to inspect them and send us reports.
We'll have to make sure we notify the homeowners too, because, for instance, I turn mine on every year. And do we have a way of knowing who might be in the same boat with me, who would have a system and turn it on themselves?
I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but no, I don't know. I don't know who they are. But it would just be, hopefully we could get some information on the website or whatever, and just people can just do due diligence and do it,
And Mary Lou, you had your hand up?
We're one of those that Bob actually winterizes it and he turns it on every spring. So I'll make sure we find out what to do.
Yeah, and we can post some irrigation folks online that, we should, I think if we're going to do this, we should provide the information so that the people can call and the service to get it done. So we can put that on the website so that people can look and get the numbers and make choices, put three or four of them on there, and they can make a choice.
So we would consider doing this a year from now, next spring?
Yeah, we're a little late now. We've turned on a bunch of them already, and there's a lot of irrigations are already going. And I'd hate to have somebody come back and impose more of a charge because, well, we should have done while we were here type thing. So, so we'll have plenty of time to look at it a little bit more, and if we need more discussion, we will. But definitely for 2022, I'd like to get that implemented so that we can start this program.
Well, why don't you research on your end, Greg, and then maybe say January, meeting. We're pretty far off here, but I think we should address that formally in January, and then that would leave plenty of time for all the residents to, make their plans. And, maybe even Lynn can just make a little hand note to put that on the January agenda, next meeting.
Yeah, and then we can, sooner we get it on the website too, maybe more people see it too as well, get it up there for a few months prior to the season, So, yeah,
I think Laurel had a comment.
Right. I just have a question of how we would police that, especially with the people that turn it on themselves.
I think what I would do would be, obviously the first year that we do it, we would keep that information on file. Then the following year, then we would have that data to where we could go back and compare to make sure that Mr. Smith, he submitted one again for 2023. And as far as policing, it would just be a matter of if we're out and about and we realize that maybe this house, we're not sure if they had an inspection, we can look on our list and go with it from there. It's not like we're going to be driving around and being backflow police, or anything like that. But, it's a start. So it's something that we can work towards as far as collecting this data and working off of that, So it's going to take a little time,
Well, certainly we would know those that do have separate meters for their irrigation systems. We would know those right away.
Right.
And we could certainly, as they are submitting them, we would build our file.
Right.
We certainly would have trouble knowing, if we have a resident who, like Mary Lou has Bob winterized, de-winterized, he literally doesn't use any contractor at all. That would present some problems as far as identification for us. But I think we
know to put the McFadden's on the list right away, right?
Right. I was thinking the same thing. Right.
And the LeMays.
That's right.
Yeah. And the thing is, if we found somebody that was running their system that didn't have a backflow preventer inspected, we could just, either we could go to the door or we could have Lynn send them a letter. But all you have to do is just go up and turn it off at the valve right there at the backflow. And then it wouldn't run anymore. But by law, if they didn't comply, we could shut their water service off. Legally, and they wouldn't have any water until they got the backflow inspected, So, I don't want to do that, but we have some teeth in the law. It's just how we want to present it and how we want to move forward with it, So.
Okay. Anything else for Greg? All right, Greg, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Next part of our agenda is old business. First item under old business, review of job descriptions, water superintendent, assistant water superintendent, labor. So I think all of the board has been shared via email, an email that Mike Konasek had sent to Greg Parrish regarding those three mentioned position descriptions, job descriptions. And I thought it was important enough for the discussion to go beyond just Greg and Mike. I would like for this board to be hands-on with these job descriptions as well. There has been some of that already. And so as those were distributed to everybody, the goal is for us to just completely be aware of what those job descriptions contain and how we would like to proceed with those. And so the goal for this item would be, we certainly don't have enough time to finalize those descriptions, I don't believe, during this meeting today. But I would like to, by the next meeting, have those job descriptions finalized. And so what I would be asking for today is comments from any of the board members regarding their review of those and just general observations. So I'm going to start with that. And my general observation of those job descriptions would be, number one, I believe that we certainly need two people that are active full-time employees in the water department. And going beyond that, it is my feeling that we should have both of those individuals certified, such as we're moving along with Austin. We lived firsthand the scenario where something happened to our water superintendent. And we were blessed that Greg Parrish at that time was able to step in and be our certified new water superintendent. We certainly, as a small department, we have some exposure, and I really don't know exactly if we were left without, I'll maybe let Greg answer this in a second, if we were left in the situation where after Ron passed, we didn't have a certified individual, my guess is there are options. And those options are maybe hiring another company at some fee per month to be acting as our certified, say, individual or company. So I'd like to see, we are already on this path. We have lived this once. And I think it is certainly worth the insurance and the continuity of having two individuals with those credentials. So I certainly would like to see, both of them have that. So that's kind of the start for me are those 2 points. So Greg, why don't you just comment, if you had not had the credentials, where would we be and where would we go from there?
If you didn't have the credentials, if something were to happen to me, you would probably have to, like you said, there's companies out there that are certified that could come in and test our water. But that would be, you might even be able to get somebody from, say, Michigan City that was certified to come in and sample the water. But other than that, that's probably all they would do. You still have, your daily record keeping and stuff like that they probably wouldn't do. They would basically, all they would do would just keep the town in compliance is all they would do is with IDEM is what they would do. But there wouldn't be anything else done as far as that goes.
And so what you're saying is part of having a certified person is, number one, the testing part of it.
Right.
Then also the record keeping, there are daily record keeping issues and other things beyond that testing that would require our department to have a certified person. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. You got, we have to keep how much water we pump every day. All that has to be recorded, and we have water audits that are required that we do every year. And in order to have those tests done, you have to collect the data every day. So, there's a lot of things that I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Well, so I think the point we're trying to get to here is if we don't have a person on staff who is certified, then there are multiple scenarios and day-to-day scenarios that put us in a problematic situation.
Correct. Yeah.
And so really problematic from just the convenience of having somebody there, but problematic potentially from a cost scenario where then we would have to hire somebody to come in daily, every few days, whatever it might be, to sign off on the things that you're signing off on as a certified person, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So would it be your recommendation, or you're in agreement with the fact that if we end up without a certified individual, as we did exactly with Ron, at that moment in time, we were lucky enough to have you step in. But if we didn't have that luxury, it would be a significant issue that would have to be immediately addressed and potentially costly. Is that what your observation? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess my two comments still stand from my feelings about those position descriptions. I would ask any other comments about this item from any other board members.
I do have a question, Greg, and you touched on it, and Rick touched on Michigan City. Other than purchasing water, what relationship do we have with Michigan City Water Department?
Well, we don't. Because we're a closed system, we have to do all the requirements that Michigan City has to do. But the only difference between the two departments, Michigan City and us, is they treat our water. So they have, so that's like when we do our CCR report, we have to wait for them to send theirs out because they have all their treatment chemicals and stuff like that chlorinate the water and whatnot. We have to list those on our CCR report. Even though we are a purchase system, we still have to do a water quality report. So
are we doing the same testing they're doing or similar?
Yes. As far as water quality, chlorine residuals, water pumpage and all that, yeah, we're doing the same things that they do. And we have to do that because we're considered a buy system, but we're a closed system. So when the water comes into Long Beach, it can't go out of Long Beach other than just through being.
Oh, it's not moving on to another.
No, we're not transient.
Interesting.
No.
Okay.
So that's why it's important that we keep our water flushed, tested, because once it comes into Long Beach, then it's our responsibility from that point. So we're required to do all the testing.
Yeah. And that makes Rick's comments about having a backup certified person on the staff more important.
Right. And it's not just testing and stuff. I mean, there's a lot to know about a water system. Every water system is different. So if say you would have to hire somebody, say if you can find somebody that's certified to do a water system and do the testing, even with our mapping and the maps that we have, a person that doesn't know this system's going to come in there and he's not going to know anything. That's something that you learn over the years. I mean, I'm working on 19 years out here and I still scratch my head every once in a while and some stuff. So,
okay.
It's years of experience comes a long ways, along with everything else, so, and that's what I'm teaching Austin everything that I know. We're working in unison together, and he's learning everything. So he has to be, according to our job description for assistant water superintendent, he has to be employed with us for 5 years. So he's still got a few years before I can even put him in that position. But he's got training to do yet too. So, but hopefully in a few years, I can come before the board and I'm ready to move Austin into assistant water superintendent. So that's kind of what I'm looking at too. And that's what Ron did with me. I guess that's what they've done over the years, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the board?
I just have a quick comment. Reading when we got all this paperwork here, that it looked like the assistant superintendent and the superintendent had a lot of duplicated duties. How I view that for the assistant water superintendent is that they, in fact, are required to do those duties in the absence of the superintendent. Say if they're on vacation or a day off or, a couple of days off sick or something. So I think that, that the duplicated duties should be on both of the job descriptions. it may stipulate that in the absence of the superintendent, but I think it's important that it's on both of them. Ultimately, the superintendent is responsible for everything, but in that person's absence, the other person should step up and be responsible in taking over the duties.
Right, and that was my problem with even coming up with assistant water superintendent to find a variance between the two. And just like you said, Laurel, and I think Rick's on the same page. It's kind of, it's kind of hard to make a variance, a difference between the two job descriptions, because technically that person, if I'm gone or I'm on vacation, that person should be required to do my job, So that's how the job description states. It's pretty much unison to mine. So that's kind of where I kind of got hung up too, But I mean, there is a little bit of a difference in there. I put Austin is in charge of our water audit. He's the one that's going to be, he's been working with the validators, and that's I kind of handed that off to him. That's one of his responsibilities that I don't have to worry about. He's already doing that now. So, but that was about probably the only thing I really could push off, that I could make a difference between the two descriptions.
Go ahead, Laurel.
Just with that situation, though, ultimately, Greg, are you not responsible for that they're done correctly?
Yes, I have to review them, but how that works is ultimately what happens is I collect the data, I get it together, I hand it off to Austin. Austin plugs it into the program, and then he works with the validator. Technically, I can't collect the data. I can't supposedly not supposed to put the data into the program and then work with the validator. There has to be a handoff somewhere to make so everybody's honest about the information that we're putting into that program. So that's kind of how I set it up. Was I'm gathering the information, Austin's putting it in the data into the program, and then he works with the validator. But yes, ultimately I'm responsible for whatever happens, it all comes down to me. Okay. So yeah. And I do make sure that whenever it's validated, I make sure, I look at it, I know where we need to make improvements, if any. Our last year was our first year that we did them, and we have a pretty tight system. I mean, our water is accounted for. It don't appear to we have any big, huge leaks anywhere. We're obviously making some money. So, I mean, it's a good thing. I'm glad that they started this, because we're going to do it every year. This year, we don't have to send it down to IFA, which is Indiana Finance Authority. But next year, we will have to. And if we don't participate with this, their teeth in it is if we're not participating in the water audit annually, that if with a water department would ever want to go for any state revolving funds, you couldn't get it because you're not participating in that program. So we are, and that's it's a good thing. So.
Oh, Greg, I just had a comment that when I think I just came onto the board when Austin was hired, but we would include his experience as part of that 5 years to be he had experience. He just didn't come out of high school. Right. And didn't he already have 5 years at Woodruff?
Yes, he did. But I think I'm not sure, I don't have that description in front of me, but I think that it was required that he had to be employed with the water department for 5 years to actually be named water superintendent.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that if something were to happen to me tomorrow, that if the water board, once he had his certifications, the water board could say, hey, we're going to look over that and hire him as a superintendent or whatever, but.
Actually, the job description says experience 5 years in construction, maintenance or repair, general construction or facilities maintenance preferred.
Okay.
So, and that was from, I think that might have been from yours when you and Ron were there.
Right. Yeah, that could be.
Because Greg and I early on worked on this, and then I think Greg refined it a little more for us. So, I mean, there is some opportunities for us. But so, Rick, next month you want us to go through this and have our suggestions?
Yes, actually, just one comment to continue the train of thought here on the 5 years. Greg, would you look at the specific certification requirements and make sure that we have this point correct as we have it written in the job description now? I want it to be exactly correct, whether it is to be 5 years experience on a water department or whether other general experience will apply. Let's get that correct, okay?
Okay.
So if you could research that and pass it along to Mary Lou, because what I'd like, if there are no more comments from the board, it sounds like we've all given some thoughts here. I'd like for Mary Lou to kind of bring those together and recommend the final drafts of the position descriptions that then we would approve at the next meeting. So if Mary Lou, you could do that and then email them to us, we'd be prepared then to move on it at the next board meeting.
I will.
Great. Any more comments on the job descriptions? Okay. The next item under old business is a follow-up regarding water department open position. Mary Lou.
Okay. I want Laurel to feel free to chime in, but I believe that Laurel sent the position description probably within the last 2 weeks to Mike Konasek to have it posted. I think he's been gone, so I don't think Laurel's heard back from him that I know of.
No, I haven't, and I emailed again last week and still haven't heard back.
Okay, but the other thing is, just an FYI, we could go ahead and put an ad in the Beecher or the News Dispatch. I know over the weekend, Rick Blank contacted me. He might know somebody. I have been trying to network with people that I used to work with, and there is a tax accounting person at Dwyer, and I had messaged her last week, and she seemed to know of somebody that works for different places, and so I'm waiting to hear back, and I will reach out to her again today and ask her if that lady could, I'm assuming it's the lady, could send us a resume. The other thing I was thinking about, Rick and Laurel and Bob Gallagher, because we were on the original group when we were looking for to replace Angela, and Rick Remages was too, that there was somebody that we were really interested in, and I think he worked when we contacted him to come in for an interview, he wanted to stay with St. Stan's in their resale shop. But, things change, and maybe we could, Rick, go ahead.
We already contacted.
I contacted Ron directly. He worked for the Michigan City Water Department and was retiring, and he was absolutely highly qualified and would have been of tremendous service to us. And so I did reach out about 30 days ago and had a nice conversation with him. He's not available. He is still working the resale shop at St. Stan's, and his part-time work is plenty for him right now. He wanted to be retired anyways, but I've called him a couple times over the last many months, and because he was such a wonderful fit for us, but no go for him. So thanks for mentioning that, though.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that it would not hurt to get it advertised.
Okay,
I don't think there's any downside to it. And, the question that I had was, this individual that I have in mind, was interested in what's the salary range.
okay.
So do we have a formal range determined yet?
No, tonight we're having a special town council meeting to go over the salary reviews. And speaking of that, I'll interject because I didn't have Lynn put this on there. I want to thank the water department because as part of the HR committee, John Wall brought to the table what the street department was going to recommend. Bill brought what he recommended for the deputy clerk. The police chief did his recommendations, and our group did. And it hasn't been finalized. We're going to look at it tonight, so I may have a better idea. But yeah, so then I can get back with everybody.
If you could reach out to me maybe tomorrow or the next day and let me know. So at least I give an accurate piece of information to this potential candidate.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
And I will work with Laurel. You see how I volunteered her to work on it. And well, I'll put together an ad or see what I can find. And then I will run it by Laurel. And if she okays it, then I'll run it by everybody else. Because Laurel has the background that we're looking for, but she doesn't want to retire.
Yeah.
So,
I do have a question.
that's our problem. Okay.
And the question is this. In January of 2020, I submitted a resume, and I'll say for Leslie Cabot. 4 months ago or 5 months ago, I submitted a resume again without response. And there's been constant conversation about job descriptions and qualifications. There has been one unsuccessful hire that was preset before I got on this board in January of 2020. And I just find it somewhat unusual that there's no response from the board. There was a request to find support for Lynn. I'm not saying that, in fact, Leslie is the answer, but now we're talking about today advertising, and I think the woman at least deserves some response from the board. Is there anyone who has not received that resume?
Rick, I have to say that what we had looked at, and Mary Lou and I have talked about it, we would like to get a couple of candidates, and the one that you have proposed is one in that we have said definitely yes, we will interview. And what our intention is, we'd like to interview them in person. So because of COVID and everything, it's been difficult, but now we feel that we can have the board and a candidate in our conference area so that we can all interview. So I had thought that
an interview outside.
Yeah, now the weather today, we could do it outside. But I had thought that we had gotten back to you and said, yes, she is on our list, but we wanted to get a couple of candidates so that we would have something to decide on. That's where we're at with it.
Well, I think we, Rick, I don't, anybody who submits a resume at any time should have a response from us. We should never leave somebody hanging. So I agree with you totally, Rick, on that. But I don't think this process to search for somebody was formally opened and completely in process and moving forward.
I agree.
because I think that in itself is what Laurel just touched on, is, when we do open it up and we do have this process, we would like to have several candidates apply. And so we would have several options of people to look at. But that has absolutely not happened yet. So I think, the resume that we saw was somewhat premature. And so I would think that would be our response back, is just to say, we never formally opened this process, but that certainly we would consider her for an interview when the process does open. So that's the positive.
And Rick, I would be happy that Rick Remages is correct. And normally, even before I retired, I always gave them a response, whether it was, they liked it or not. But I could reach out to her and just say, we haven't formally started looking. And I know that Bob Gallagher had told me and Laurel on an occasion that whatever we did, he wanted to be in person. So I'm with Laurel. We can spread out enough. And in the past, Laurel and I have had the interviews, and then we've screened it down to 2 or 3 people. It can be that way again, because sometimes to have all 5 of us in there is kind of overwhelming. And we would want Lynn to be involved, because she needs to work with that person.
Right.
Yeah. So I would be happy, if you want me to reach out to Leslie and just tell her that.
That's fine. I don't know whether she moved on. I have certainly, I appreciate your response, Laurel's response. But whether she is appropriate to the job or not, I don't know. What I do know is that we've gone 16 months talking about support for, as it turned out, Lynn, who, once again, Lynn, you get kudos. I mean, Lynn has just been magnificent, and it's fine. Mary Lou, if you choose to contact her directly, that'd be great.
I will.
Anyhow, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And Laurel, thank you for your response. Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else regarding the open position description, or the open position? Pardon me. All right. Thanks, everybody. Next item would be addendum to tap fee ordinance.
I'm sorry, Rick. I blew past something there.
Okay.
And it was on the job description. Is my understanding that Lynn and whoever else would be working in administration would be working together or working independently? Because some of Mike's comments wanted to do the same thing Greg was talking about, breaking out, or not Greg, that we intend for these 2 individuals to be able to work independently, do we not?
Right. Rick, if I can comment to you, actually what you're talking about separating, I actually had done that. I took the job description for if one person was working in the water department, and I separated it by accounts receivable, which Lynn is doing. And also then the second position would be general ledger and accounts payroll, financing, budgeting, that type of thing. So they did get separated, so that they'll be individual.
It was fine as it was presented.
Well, but then both positions are not responsible for everything. Yeah, what I had presented, I feel was adequate, but I guess Mike kind of has his own layout for the description, so he was going to just put it in his own layout is what he was going to do, my understanding. So, we could, at this point, we could, tell an applicant exactly what's entailed for the job, even without we getting an actual hard copy that's 100% right now. But we do need to have that for our records. But so that's where that's at. It is two individually, so working independently. The person that's going to do, Lynn is doing accounts receivable. However, the other person will need to know how to go in and look at a customer's account for when they call in, or know how to write up job tickets for shut-offs, turn-ons, that type of thing. So, and of course, Lynn is already cross-trained in doing payables, et cetera. But the other person would then be cross-trained to do receivables in Lynn's absence, as far as like vacation or something, show her how to make a deposit, that type of thing. So, but it's all pretty well clear in that, how it's broken apart.
Okay, and just on that same thought, Laurel, just so we're all understanding how the two will work together, I think it's my impression they'll be working on different days in general.
Correct.
And what would those days look like?
At present, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be Lynn. Thursday and Friday would be the second person.
Okay. So there probably would need to be some cross-training before the new individual could stand on his or her own Thursday and Friday of each week, but that would be the goal. They would be working essentially independently because they would be there by themselves on those days you just outlined.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right, we're moving down to the third item on old business, addendum to tap fee ordinance. Follow up with Chris Willoughby, Mary Lou, and I'm thinking, Mary Lou, that certainly you sent out some information to us this morning.
Yeah, and I apologize. Chris just sent it early this morning, and I thought I don't think Greg's probably had time to look at it yet, and so I think it might be able to get on the May town council meeting, but it's all the language of an ordinance, but the meat of it is that installations or repairs made by or on behalf of the town and at a customer's request, including but not limited to a new water tap or service line upgrades, shall be the responsibility of the customer. The customer shall also pay all expenses associated with the surface restoration, in addition to any applicable tap fees and or service line replacement charges. For purposes of this subsection, services shall include but not be limited to roads, driveways, and landscaping. A written determination of the services to be restored and associated expenses shall be determined prior to the commencement of any work where practicable, but the nature of a project may necessitate that such determinations are made after the completion of a project, and in no case relieve the customer from the obligation to pay for any applicable expenses. And just, I've always told my kids when they were growing up, when they would complain about a policy the school had, and I said, or in human resources, it's kind of like, I call it the nursing program, where somebody's always complaining about a policy. Usually policies are written because somebody abused it. And that's what probably about the time I came on the water board or was in the water department, Greg and I talked, and I was thinking we should name this after the person, but that's why we have it now. And hopefully everybody will look at it. But that's, we have people that find the loophole, and then it was very expensive for the water department.
And do we intend to bill through their water bill for these services, which would then put them on the hook to have to pay if they want water?
I don't know if that's come up or not, but when we've had, I'm thinking out loud, and Greg or Laurel, feel free to pipe in, but when I was in like last January, when Laurel and I were in the office there was a contractor that did damage, and and so he paid Greg. I wrote the letter for Greg. He paid separately to the water department, so he wasn't a customer. He was a contractor. I'm thinking out loud. I think that would be the best way, because then they're held accountable, and then Lynn's got to come up with another line item. But maybe there is one on there that we could bill like that.
That would be my only comment about the ordinance.
Okay.
Is how are we going to collect? And if in fact we can cap shut off.
We'll get you the wrench, Rick. You can help.
Thank you.
Usually when it's new construction, a lot of times the contractor comes in and pays that tap fee. So I think in the past we've billed that separate from the water bill. But I would imagine if somebody wants to upgrade their service that has an account with us, I don't see why we couldn't bill it through the water department, through the water bill.
Yeah.
So,
I know Lynn is on here diligently taking notes, but there's one on Hideaway Point that happened when Laurel and I were there. And so because they weren't a customer yet, then we had to make a separate, they did pay the bill. I think they did. I don't think the contractor did. And it wasn't damage. It was the tap fee. But that that was new construction.
right. And they have water now. They're in the system now. So
Good.
So, are you, with regard to this ordinance, do we want to bless this ordinance as the water board so it can move on to the town council?
I make a motion, if everyone's comfortable with it, that we bless it. And then this can be heard at the second Monday in May town council meeting. And that's kind of what Chris said in his email, if any of you had time to look at it. Yes.
Correct. I read it. I read the ordinance. And so I'm okay with it, so I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. New accounts for vacant lots in Long Beach. Mary Lou and Lynn.
Well, first of all, at the last meeting, Rick Raymond just said he would help us, and he did. And then I hope you guys can stand this sense of humor, but I was in with Lynn one day and she said, how are we going to find all these? I said, well, we'll walk around and start looking. But my husband over here, we could look on Beacon, and Rick assisted us. But then I called the assessor, and honestly, they were like a machine turning out. I didn't know there were that many lots in Long Beach that don't have something on them. So I'm not sure what the status is. I haven't been into Seedlin lately, but we got 42 batches from the assessor. I certainly didn't know there were that many lots. So anyway, if Lynn wants to comment, I'd be happy to hear from her.
Here's some of the paperwork.
Oh, my goodness.
What I've done is I've been getting all the plot numbers and putting them into an organized fashion so that when I do up a document with all the plot numbers and the locations and all that, then I will start, and I've already cleared this with Civic, I will start entering them into the system under plot numbers and under the owner of the land, which more often than not is a contractor right now, people who will eventually develop the land. These are lots that do not have taps, and the reason we were talking about them at all was because we were going to charge everyone fire protection and stormwater so that these accounts would then be billed along with all of our water bills for their stormwater and fire protection fees. That's my understanding. Is that correct, based on what everybody else has heard so far? That's the only thing they would be charged for?
Yes.
Okay, so I know how to do it in terms of entering them into the system. Now it's just about dealing with the mass quantity of them. And the only discrepancy that I have found, I believe, is that there are a number of people that own 5 lots, but they have gone through the process with the county to incorporate them into one address. So I don't know if we can bill separate lots once they've been incorporated into one. They would have to undo that process to ever sell that land. But right now, if they own a property that has 5 lots and they have not done the process of incorporating them, that's when we're charging them the base fee, et cetera, for that lot that has a tap. But there are a number of people that might have 5 lots because they have a large property now. It's all incorporated into their one address. And I don't know if we can bill them per lot when they've actually gone through the process of incorporating all of it. If they sell that home that has all of that land, it's one sale, not 6 sales, you know. Does anyone know how that works? Because there were several people that I already noticed they were put in that batch, and I would pull up and it would have 5 lots for customer so-and-so, and I already know that they've incorporated so that they're one full property, not 5. So does anyone know in terms of whether those people would be paying?
You just touched on a problem that I did not anticipate or think about, is that until Long Beach has sewers throughout the community, many of those lots that are part of an ownership of a residence aren't buildable by themselves.
If they don't have taps, right, if they do not have taps.
No, the septic system is going to be the issue.
Uh-huh.
Lots in Long Beach don't meet the requirement for a septic system relative to permeability of the lot, the slope of the lot, the size of the drain field. And I hadn't thought of that until you just brought it up. I'm going to say our house, for example, the plat shows that we have 3 lots. Well, one of them is pie-shaped, one of them is this shape, and there is no way I could separate any one of the 3 off and sell it as a building site. So what you just did was open the can of worms. Are we looking at it as a residential site or potentially buildable lot? And I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I think if it doesn't have the ability to be built on under current health department and town of Long Beach ordinances, we might be just opening ourselves up to a lengthy argument about saying, now we're going to charge you this or that for the lot.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't know that answer off the top.
Well, yeah, the question is who determines whether a lot is buildable? Because there certainly are a lot of vacant lots that are buildable. They don't have a tap yet, and they have not got an account with us. We're talking about making those buildable lots that don't have taps, but they're not incorporated into the homeowner's property. They haven't gone through the process of incorporating them. So they have their home plot, and then the next door one that doesn't have a tap, and the one next to that that doesn't have a tap, and they're all buildable. They don't have taps. They will now be charged for those vacant lots that don't have taps, just for the 2, the stormwater utility and the fire protection. But what you're describing, Rick, is actually another issue, which is that if you have a small angular plot that's not buildable, would those folks also be charged for So yeah, we need to figure that out. I don't know who figures that out. Who does? We do?
I think, Rick, you hit it on the head. I think it's a combination. It's the LaPorte County Health Department
Yeah.
that would allow a septic service to be installed, and then it's also our own town ordinances.
Yeah, I'm kind of late to have thought of that, but I'm familiar with. I have some ongoing transactions where the septic system, nothing unusual about it. All these rules changed in July of 2016. So what may have been considered a building site previous to this time now is absolutely under the control of the LaPorte County Health Department.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure Bob and the council members, Mary Lou and John, are well aware of what's going on with the health department and Lakeshore Drive and sewers versus septic. So I know I'm throwing a monkey wrench in there, but I think it deserves some further thought and discussion.
Can I call you back?
Our ordinances say that a lot other than north of Lakeshore Drive has to be 12,000 square feet. North of Lakeshore Drive has to be at least 6,000 square feet. Now, people can ask for variances to build on smaller lots, but maybe as a good guideline for the water department to use for billing purposes, going with the ordinances would probably be reasonable.
Uh-huh. Could you repeat the 12,000 versus 6,000?
Yeah, 6,000 is for north of Lakeshore Drive. That's I believe it's the R2 district. And
Okay.
the R1 district, which is the rest of Long Beach, is 12,000 square feet.
Okay, thanks.
If somebody asks for a variance and gets a variance to build on a smaller lot, then I would imagine the water department probably would obviously start charging them. But maybe those people who are below the legal limit would skate until then.
Uh-huh.
Makes sense.
Well, I have a lot of paperwork to do and preparation before they actually get entered into the system. So before I enter them into the system as full-on accounts that are going to get services added, as in stormwater and fire protection, we'll have talked about it again in a board meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lynn. Are we ready to move to the next item, which is approval of first of the back charges for one of our residents?
Rick, that was approved at the town. We had a town meeting on Thursday of last week, and that was approved.
Okay, so that's taken off of our list.
That's off our list now. Yep.
Next item is small claims for one of our customers.
I did reach out after the last meeting, and Chris Willoughby, I think, will know where our status by the end of April, and I will follow up on that.
Okay, so Lynn could put that item for next month.
Yes.
Yep.
So, any other old business? Let's move to new business. Bill DeFuniak's email regarding SBOA fees for investigative audit. And that says Rick B. So this was included in the packet that Lynn sent out to everybody. There's a copy of that. And so I must say, I know a little bit about this, but I think I need to know more. It appears like this particular item is one that the state wants us to pay. Is that where we are with this?
Looks like they're billing the town of Long Beach.
Yeah.
Well, I still have a question and that bill, because there was two. We had an audit for the town and the audit for the water department, both of them were regular audits, not the investigative audit. The bill that comes to that we should be paying for the water department, I'm not sure if this is it or not. Maybe Lynn could answer that question. And then the other, for the town, when taxes are sent to us, tax monies, they would deduct theirs out of the tax monies. They have no way of deducting from the water department, so we have to pay it. Now, but I'm not sure, and Bill said that he was going to do some more research on it. I believe it was at our budget and finance meeting. So I'm not sure that we actually have that resolved. Maybe Lynn can help with that.
I actually thought that Bill was going to be at this meeting to
I do
talk
too.
about it. So I think we may need to table it until he's
Okay.
here. Because he had said, please, let's talk about it at the next water meeting. So maybe Bill's
Okay.
missing from.
Let's go ahead and table it. Lynn, if you would put it on next meeting's old business. We'll do that, but it seems like I recall when we were involved in the State Board of Account meeting that I recall this 28-day engagement. So I believe that was the investigative part of it.
Yeah,
Not totally.
I wrote down this number, that's what I was looking for, that they gave us an estimated cost. It was $5,200 for the town and $17,242 for the water.
right. So that's why I'm thinking this is actually the town's bill,
Okay.
the 6,000.
Yeah.
Because I know that ours for the water department was quite large, and we haven't seen that bill yet.
Okay. All right. Well, if we can put it on for next meeting, and Lynn, if you would certainly let Bill know we would like his presence at the next meeting, and then he can, even present some additional facts to you that you could even share along with the packet of information, agenda, et cetera. So we're totally up to speed on this maybe before the next meeting occurs, okay?
Do you want me to text him to see whether he wants to Zoom into us right now?
Sure.
Because I can do that, and if he's available, he might just come into this meeting, because I think he has the information.
If you could, that would be great. We have a few more minutes.
Okay.
The last paragraph in this statement, it's not an invoice, says that they're going to collect it from the county. So apparently they intend to get it out of tax receipts from the
Right.
And my recollection is that number was related, the 6,859 was related to the investigation of malfeasance. And that,
Well,
but Mark Swiss,
there was for the investigation part, there was an invoice that was close to the amount that the town was going to be billed. That's why, and we're not responsible for the investigation portion of that audit.
got it.
So the two invoices were close, and Bill was supposed to check into that. So hopefully we can get him on to correct it.
Sure.
But I know that our audit, the water department audit was quite high, like 17, like Mary Lou said. So we should be getting a bill for that.
And in big bold letters, this says, this is not an invoice for payment. So
Correct.
I guess let's assume that's correct and we're not paying anything. So
I'm not sure that's correct.
until somebody
Right.
says, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I
We're
think it's
not
the
paying.
town.
I'm looking to see if I can rouse Bill.
Well, if we can rouse Bill, great. If not, it'll be on for next meeting. So why don't we go ahead and
Yeah. Move on.
go to the next item, which is funding options for water department portion of the sanitary sewer project. So over time, there has been a lot of discussion about the resources and funds that the water department has at its disposal. And so we as a board for years have been guided by Carl Sender and Associates firm, who specializes in utility accounting and planning, and he's certainly has assisted us already with the proposed sewer project, and us dovetailing some water improvements, water distribution improvements at the same time. And so what I'd like to suggest, and I'll make a motion in a minute, is that quite possibly, we certainly do have some money that's sitting in the water department. Let's have Carl Sender come in and do an analysis and determine if, in fact, we have enough money to fund the project that we currently have in front of us on the water department side of the sewer project. And if we do have enough money, then we don't have to get a bond, et cetera, and we can essentially reduce the impact payment-wise for every customer in the town of Long Beach. So I'd like to at least have this review done before we, go out and get bonds, and then it's irreversible and things you maybe should have thought of sooner. So I think I'll make that motion now so that we can then discuss it. So I make a motion that we have a brief employment of Carl Sender to come in and determine the funds that we have currently on hand and whether or not those funds can be used in part or in total in some way to fund the proposed water system improvements that are planned at the same time that the sewer project is done for the town of Long Beach. That's my motion.
I'll second. I second.
Any discussion? I guess we're all on board with it. It's on the train. We're all on board. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, Laurel, I think you have had recent contact with Carl Sender regarding some of the issues as far as the water improvements. Would you be able to contact Carl, or how?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll call Carl, because we have talked about this earlier in the year, or even last year when we were talking about funding, to see if we would put the water department in jeopardy by using our funds to do this, or do we have enough funds that we could go ahead and do that, and then we wouldn't have to pass that on to the residents. So I'll give him a call.
Great, thank you. Next.
Can I interrupt a second? Bill is trying to call in because we have no reception at the water department for Zoom calls, so he's going to do it by phone. And he's in process trying to do that now.
Thank you. I'll watch for him to pop up here and admit him immediately. So until then, stop 21 water fountain, Mary Lou.
Okay, I believe it was at a town meeting that Zach Neff spoke. He's on the park board. And I believe it was in regard they are redoing Stop 21. because of the erosion, and they want to have the water fountain. I said, well, there's more to that, and I need to get a hold of Laurel and Rick Blank and try to remember what happened. So we had permanently, last year, I believe it was, Laurel, turned it off because they didn't.
Yeah, 19, I believe it
Okay,
was.
19. Because the Stop 21 Club, which is a group of residents there that bought the property, right, Laurel? And
Yes.
And so someone left their water fountain on, and I believe we wrote off the bill, and we said we would not turn it back on. But now the park department is, and I believe it's on town property, if I remember right.
It is on town
Okay.
property.
So Zach's, we sent him all the information, and I believe they're going to have something that automatically shuts off, and they want that. So that kind of goes in with the same thought that Greg's having, that maybe we need to get a hold of Zach and Kendra, and just to give them, to think about this before the sewers come in. Is there any other stop that they want to pay, that they want to have a water fountain that they would pay for?
Okay.
Does that
So
sound?
Yeah, would you reach out to?
I will. I'll reach out to Zach and Kendra and leave them a message. They're pretty good at responding.
And regarding this matter, so the park department will be picking up all future charges, just like a normal water customer would be.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So that's what'll happen moving forward. Okay. Anything else regarding that then?
How much?
Nope.
Almost.
Mary Lou, did you have something more to offer?
No, I'm sorry. My husband walked in the room and I was talking to him.
Oh, that's okay.
I thought I was on mute.
I thought I heard a motion and I'm thinking, well, I don't think we need one. So, okay, with that, Bill Defuniak, are you with us?
I am. I can't see anybody because I'm on my cell phone, and this thing on my town computer can't talk or do anything but listen. But anyway, but I'm on the cell phone now. So
Bill, here's the question for you, Bill, which we have an invoice for $6,859 that has been presented to us from the state of Indiana. And we're just wondering, what is that all about and what should we do with it?
Okay, maybe you should hold until we figure things out now. But there are two invoices because we did two audits. And so have you paid any invoices to the state of Indiana?
No.
No.
Okay, it may be, so you should pay the one for the regular 2019 audit. I thought that was like $12,000, something like that.
There was like 17,000, and we have not received that bill as yet.
Okay. Well, I just wrote a letter to. What happened was the state of Indiana, unbeknownst to me, contacted one of our insurance companies, Western Surety, which is part of CNA Surety, and asked for reimbursement for their audit costs. And that one, I guess you should pay, but the other side of it is. So I've been contacted. So now I have contact with the Attorney General's office, and I just within the last 5 minutes, I just sent her an invoice. An email saying, "Hey guys, am I supposed to be representing the state of Indiana? Because the insurance company has contacted back." Because the state of Indiana made the contact. I get it; they're in charge; they can do what they want, and they can superimpose themselves on top of the little town of Long Beach. But I'm just not sure. So am I authorized to send? So I have not sent anything to Western Surety, my feeling on it is our chances of getting reimbursed for the for the cost of the audit was probably slim. But I have received a check, and I was going to give it because it's the water department that needs a check. But the Attorney General's office said, don't do anything with that check now. So I received a check for $2,800 and $28.75, which is $33.75 less the $500 deductible for the crime portion of the audit. But the actual cost of the audit is really a civil claim, and I'm just not sure. So what I'd really rather have you do is hold it until we find out what goes on, because I know that they sent us a letter saying that they were going to take the money out of the tax receipts. And so now I'm not sure, whether it's left me with, they're omnipotent. They can do what they wish, but I don't know whether you're supposed to be paying the money to us because it's coming out of the town's tax receipts, or whether you're supposed to be paying the state. And all of us hoping that we will get reimbursed by the person who is still being charged with something near $10,000 worth of expense.
Okay, Bill. So could you join us next month and give us a fuller update? We may have to have a special meeting if that's, although my sense is that you can always pay things that are owed to the state without a formal meeting, because the state, it's the same as NIPSCO and all the others and all of our Anthem insurance and everything else. We approve it, but it gets done. But right now, I'm totally balked as to what we're supposed to be doing. And could you also do your thing, Bill, and just as another sounding board, the ladies that actually spearheaded the audit and actually ran the meetings that we as the water board and the town were involved in as far as their investigation, they've been very responsive via email. And I would like, let's get their take on what these are and how we would proceed as well. That way we'll have another opinion.
Yeah. My sense is that, but that's fine, Rick. But my sense is they're not going to do anything because they're going to want to talk to supervisors. I don't think they made the contact. Somebody made the contact. I was hoping that the state would wait and not be so anxious and see whether we could arrange for some payment plan or something else. But the fact that they just jumped in and said, we're not waiting, we're owed this money, go for it. Now the question is, are they going to? I don't want to have you write a check to them and then them still forget. And they've already sent something to the state, to the county, saying we want to nick the town for the 6859, and we want to take it out because they have some control over that money, and obviously they can do that. But so we'll definitely be on next week. But I will send you a copy of my letter to. I just sent it out and hit go because I want her to tell me. Because the letter from CNA Surety says I just get a copy of it, and it. They were nicked by the state of Indiana, and they want the state of Indiana to respond. And I want somebody to tell me that I can represent the state of Indiana without any repercussions.
Okay, well, great. Sounds like it's moving along, but we'll wait to hear an update next month then.
Okay, thank you. All right, talk to you. Okay, bye.
Okay, the next.
Rick and the other board members, I apologize, but I have to leave. I have to attend a meeting downtown at 10:30. So I'm going to have to miss the last couple items.
No problem.
Thank you.
We got it covered. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, so the next item would be charge for non-emergency after-hours calls. Greg.
Yes, I was kind of looking at our turn-on shut-off fees, and we don't really have anything as far as after hours. It doesn't happen all the time, maybe a couple of years, but I feel that when we do get called out to turn water off or back on, we're getting paid overtime for it. So I feel that we should pass that expense on to the customer, because it is overtime.
What is the current fee? Non-emergency.
I think it's $75.
It's $70 for turn on shut off. So it's $35 to shut off.
Right. I think the non-emergency fee, I've never had to bill anybody for that since I've been here, but I believe it's $75.
Okay. So she says it's $75.
But I think you said, Greg, you'd like to raise it.
I thought it was 35 on and 35 off.
That's a regular normal shut off fee.
Okay.
We're talking after hours when it's not an emergency.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, I wanted to see if we could bump that up some.
Make a recommendation.
I would say double the. Well, let's do 140 for a non-emergency shut off on a weekend or a holiday. I feel that would cover our overtime. It shouldn't cost the water department money for us to come out and do that. So
what amount of time would you have invested if all goes well? Or just say average, how many hours? 1 hour, 2 hours?
Probably 2 hours drive time, getting out here, getting there.
Okay, so you're rolling a truck, you got your time.
Right.
$150 is not out of whack here.
No.
So, okay. So I'll make a motion that we would establish $150 as that defined fee. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, now the discussion would be, is 150 enough? I think it probably is. Do you feel comfortable, Greg?
Yeah, I would think that'd be good. Like I said, it's not something that happens all the time, but there has been times where I've gotten calls where somebody had just come in town and they got a little drip in their water valve, and it's 7, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. And you tell them, well, it's going to cost you $70 for me to come out. They're like, hey, I'll pay $70 for you to come out now. But if we have 150, they may say, well, I can wait till the next working day to have you come out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I would think that's 150 would be sufficient, I think.
Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is April billing adjustments.
I'm going to add a third one, but basically it's a total of about $26 this month. Two customers did not receive their bills. I failed to put one of them on there. That would have been $704. The other customer didn't receive his bill. These are Chicago folks. We know that's happening. And his late charge was $10.92, and then the other one was $704. The third person, it's actually a similar issue, which is that it had to do with her sending her bank check to us. When people call the bank, and then the bank mails a check. She said, I do it the same time every single month. I've done it every single month, same time. This month it was late. I don't know why. Well, I know why. It's because the post office. So she agreed to go on ACH Yay! So that one person got converted, that it's going to be way easier on her, but I told her I would ask that she have her late fee waived as a parting gesture to her bank payments. So that's the question. Is it okay to remove all those penalties?
I make a motion to approve that.
I second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
There's one other new business item that I would like to bring before this board, and it's really twofold. This is a housekeeping item that I've had in the back of my mind for some time, and this is related to our situation that occurred because of a lack of having an employee in place in our office. And so a little bit of retroactive motion here, and also at the same time a motion moving forward. So I want to bring back a memory to this board that when we lost our water department employee, that Laurel and Mary Lou stepped in and worked for months to help us get back on our feet. And we're taking no pay whatsoever. And I can remember, certainly in a board meeting and outside of a board meeting, but in a board meeting, recommended that they need to be compensated for their time because they were putting in, 40 hours of time. And I recall that Bob Gallagher had said the same thing in tandem with my opinion, that basically we should be compensating Mary Lou and Laurel. And I don't know that we ever, as a board, had said from an approval that we wanted to do that. So retroactively, I would like to do that. And then also looking forward that, there may be some, there may be some exception that does not allow payments of that type. So what I would add to this is looking forward that the water board would not pay or compensate any person for part-time or full-time pay without water board approval. So just to kind of housekeeping, and then looking forward that there would be a complete understanding and agreement by the board before any pay of any kind would take place and moving forward. So that is my motion. Is there a second? Okay. Bob Gallagher has his hand up for a second.
Yeah.
And so let's discuss this. Was I clear enough in my statements?
I think so.
Yep, I think so.
So is there, so let's just leave it at that. I think we retroactively made special exception, and then looking forward that would not occur unless our board concurs to do so in terms of paying anybody on a part-time basis to do work for us or full-time. Do you think that covers it properly? That's a very wide cast that would cover a whole lot of different situations. And if it was under emergency need, we could always call a special meeting and do it within a few days. So I think even though we're tightening down the board to having to approve all and any payments to any person that's going to be doing work for the department, I think we're covered properly.
Rick, can I just comment? I know I'm not on the board, but statutorily, we found out that board members are not allowed to be compensated beyond their attendance at the meetings.
Right.
And I know you guys, had a motion and whether it passed or not, but bottom line was they were compensated. I think the town would be comfortable with just knowing that that's not going to happen in the future. I think that's so. And I think I'm sorry I got interrupted with a phone call, but I think that's what your motion was about, right?
Yes, and what I'm saying is that that even to go a step beyond that, my motion says that the water department would not be compensating any person without board approval, whether part-time or full-time. And so, we could go further to say if that would include board members not being compensated.
Yeah, well, and I think also, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think town council has to approve any hires by the water department also, right?
No,
That's not true?
no, not at the time, at this time, no.
So right now, you guys could hire anybody you want and town council would have no say?
That's my understanding. We've always gone to the town council with, of course, we haven't really hired, it's not something that we ongoing do a lot. But it's my understanding that the water board has control over hires, but we always pass that before the town council before we commit to that.
Okay.
As I think we would certainly do in this open position that we have, we would certainly run it by, but I guess that's up for maybe debate whether that is in place or not. But so I guess I would add to the motion then, knowing from discussion that it's statutorily not allowed, so that we would then still have the water department approve payments, whether part-time or full-time, to any person, and that moving forward, we would not then be compensating any board members. So any further discussion on that motion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is anything from the floor. So let's just take a look here, just one moment. Bear with me. Okay.
Yes.
And okay, so we do have a hand up, and
This is for Rizvi. I actually have a question from Lynn or Greg. They may be able to answer. This is regarding the water bill. I'm looking at my water bill. It says previous use 254, current use 256. So basically, there's a 2 unit is used, which is equal to 1,000 gallon. Is that correct?
2 units each are 1,000 gallons, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be one unit is 1,000 gallons, 2 units would be 2,000.
And this is actual reading, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But your rule says, if I'm reading it right, 1 unit of water equals 1,000 gallons. The first unit of water usage is included in the base charges.
That's
So
1 unit prior to those other 2.
So
if you've been billed for 2, it means you've used your free one, and there's 2 additional ones that you're being charged for.
But the reading says 2 unit use on a meter.
Isn't the first 1,000 in the base pay, Lynn?
Yes.
Yeah, because the meter only meters what is being used. So if there's any additional that 1,000 must be in the base charge. So if his meter only went 2 units, then he only used 2 units, 2,000 gallons.
Okay, he became muted. I'm going to ask him to unmute. Okay, so he's got his bill here. Okay, you have muted yourself. Now you're unmuted.
Okay. Reading clearly says, if you look at this bill, the reading, starting reading and ending reading. So, and because I was not there anyway, whole month, as you know. So there was probably, my son was there one day. So, okay, fine, there's use. But the reading clearly says it started from 254 and ended on 256. And the 2 unit use. So apparently they are not giving a discount for first unit, which is supposed to be given. And I think I've gone back and looked at my previous bills, and this is consistently happening. And it may be happening to other citizens too. So will you please look into that?
Can I say that we bill only in full units?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like if you don't use a full 1,000 gallons of water, then you wouldn't have any billing there?
No, I agreed. I'm just saying that I'm just reading the reading. The reading says total use, a full unit or not full unit, use 2 of them. The reading started and reading ended. And then the bill, actually when the should said, reading 254, 256, and usage is charge 1 unit. So that's the reason it should be saying, and the unit charges should be always 1 less than the charges applied to the citizen. So I think this may be happening to other citizens also.
Yeah, you know what I will do is contact our software folks and ask them that specifically, because I understand what you're saying, that we know that when people have not used their seven, their 1,000 gallons, they don't get charged anything because it's included in that base fee if they haven't used the full 1,000. So you're saying, but once you do use it, it appears that you're being charged for both.
Correct.
I got you.
I mean, this is happened actually a few years ago. This happened the same thing. My water bill, that bill was doubling it. And I was carrying on calling and saying, somebody needs to look at it.
Yeah.
I was there one day and my bill is about $100 use. So after several calls, ultimately they decided to come and look at it and saying, oh, you have a wrong meter and it's a commercial meter. We charge you $360. Sorry, I'm used to 1,000. $360. Can we deduct it over 1 year? I said, fine, no problem. But I'm not worried about $3. Right. I'm just worried about it may not be happening to other cities.
I do. Yeah, I understand your question. I see the discrepancy. I'll check with the software people to see, because I have not questioned what they had programmed into our billing system. So if in fact that's what it's doing, then it should not be doing that, right?
Correct.
If I'm understanding correctly, yeah.
So Lynn, you will investigate. And how can we best have Lynn get back in touch with you?
I think she has my telephone number and Bill has my telephone number.
Okay, so Lynn, once you investigate, if you would then call him back and advise.
I shall do.
Okay.
I guess also coming from the floor, because I'm kind of from the floor, this sort of raises the issue of, could this possibly be a systemic problem if it's in the software? Right. So we could have a lot bigger problem than what Mr. Rivzi is bringing forward here.
Right.
I agree. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
I think if Bob, if it's the same problem, we should not go back more than 1 year.
Yeah, we could owe a lot of people a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the input. Anything else from the floor? Okay, next item is approval of claims. Laurel, could you walk us through that?
Yes, I have gone in and reviewed my 35 claims here, and I have found them all to be in good order, and I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I second. All right.
Any discussion?
I just want to say briefly, the board had approved, I think it was 6 stale checks after the last audit, and 3 of them were too old to have just been able to void it through the system, which is why there's only 3 of them noted there. The other 3 were done through journal entries.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Anything else to come before the board?
I have one more thing. If I know Laurel's probably still at home, so I was going to meet her at the town. I need to notarize your surety bonds. So, and then Rick, if you wouldn't mind stopping by, you just have to sign it in front of me so I can say that it's really you.
I'll be happy to stop by.
Okay, so after we're done, I'll leave here and meet you guys at the town.
So we're going to say, like, if I come by around 11:15.
Or 11.
Okay.
Are you walking?
Maybe.
Okay, I'll wait.
So-
Doesn't matter.
so
I'll wait for you.
I'll be there 11:15 for sure.
Okay.
Any other items to come before the board? Next meeting, May 24, 9 a.m. via Zoom. Motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
And a second. Thanks, Laurel. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good week, everybody.
And,
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks for the input.